John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.
Tell me, what makes the shadow?
The arm of the sundial.
But what of the sun?
Yes, the sun. Both help us. They tell us time.
Yet does not that sundial, standing in the way of the sun, defeat its light?
Master, I do not understand. Like many things you teach me, it is a contradiction.
Shoot the arrow. Which brings it to its target? The bow or the arrow? Launched, the arrow has no choice but to seek its target. Yet, without the arrow, the bow is an empty promise of flight.
Still, I do not understand.
When you must choose between one good and another, or one evil and another, remember this: if men would contend with you, seek not their death, but choose your own life.
Hey guys, Andre Hodge, 7 of Truth, Infinite Potential Healing with you once more. If you're new to me, thank you for finding me. If you're a veteran, thanks for sticking around. I am going to offer part 4 in my Emotional Mastery series, and this is based on Society rewards the victims, false victims, victim predators, and yeah, that sort of theme related around the victim state, alright? Because this is a part of the expansion mechanics. I've been brewing this in me for quite a while as well, because I've got some personal stories which are data that you can discern me on and tune into, and do the reality sonar empathy investment of imagine being in this scenario and what would you do and stuff, and being brutally honest on you. And it's also offering the concept of the false victim, which something that I've never heard anyone ever mention. If you gather from me, I do extensive research, watching stuff, and a lot of the shows and stuff, I'm just trying to disarm my mind and forget about things. But what happened after time, I'm just constantly working, and just an information sponge, and it doesn't matter where or when. And what I do is I get my pattern recognition going and see things and see concepts that are beyond me. So if I maybe I'll offer an image or two here about that. All right. Sorry about the beaten up image. It's been worked pretty hard. Let's say for me, the global narrative and all that sort of stuff, it's 3D 5 cents. When things happen that don't add up, all right? You want to get to the bottom of it. If there's consequence in your life and stuff, you want to not make that mistake again. And that's what been the base of my life. I realized that if I go back to the other, like say an event, all right, that doesn't add up, has consequences based on what you thought you knew, you want to understand more and stuff. So as I've shared in the recent 2 Infinite Potential Healings, part 4 and 5, I share my story and stuff, and I'll show you another image. And I'm just trying to live some life like most of us want, and it's been very elusive, and things happen, and I try and do the right thing based on how I am and stuff, and then there's outcomes that don't add up. And so I've known about the victim state and the disarming aspect of it, and obviously now I do like Galactic Special Forces on the high level psychic intuitive stuff, that there's an actual big consequence of playing the victim. But that's why I say society rewards the victim, because it's actually encouraging it to disarm, alright? And so yeah, like what I was saying about watching TV shows and stuff, you never know where a variable will come from. So like I said, with me, a lot of the stuff that's happened in my life doesn't add up, so I'm wanting it to add up so I understand it. And so my first principle all along, since I worked out my principles of existence back in early 2014, was how am I wrong in this moment? Because I've always been governed by the variables I can control, because the variables that are beyond you, that involve other people, you can't, alright? And honestly, now I understand me and who I am and what I do. The consistency of the inconsistency is a pattern in itself. So if I show you another image, this one I haven't shown in a while. Let's say many years down the track I've got a mission or some great understanding to come to. Everything's been well, not everything, but most of the major choice points and events I've had for me have had consequential outcomes that I could have never anticipated, because the consistency of the inconsistency for me is an effort to prevent me doing what I'm doing, and I'm owning that, alright? And it's really, and I'm sharing this because it needs to be said, alright? Like I said in the earlier 2, amplifying the echo of your soul's ancient truth, alright? Things going on here on the surface of Earth are very, very vast, alright? if you lack the will to consider that, all right, and what's been done and efforts to stymie our potential and stuff like that, just so we've brewed this sort of glimpse of things going on now, then you're vulnerable to not considering all the variables at play, all right? So my efforts to offer these perspectives are to give you the data that I didn't find anywhere else, that I had to learn via hard lessons, and I've had to give away aspects of this world to actually still be here, all right? And some very, very negative things have been done, and I know people play the false victims, all right, to disarm the consequence of their actions, to redirect it. But then again, look at the patterns of people, all right? Really be thorough and stuff, and that's why I've been very transparent, because I've been offering, one of my mottos is the quote by Thomas Cooper, and that's fraud and falsehood dread investigation, truth invites it. So I learnt very long ago about this concept called etiology. Etiology is the study of causation. So I see myself as an etiologist, all right? So I love studying, like backtracking the events, all right, and getting all the data points to see the pattern, all right, like I showed in that last diagram. This one here, all right? So sometimes the variables don't add up, but the outcome that doesn't add up offers you variables to go and revert, go and check back and stuff, and reassess the variables and assumptions you made in components, all right? And say data points and people and interactions and outcomes with people, you can see a pattern, and if there's a consistent variable amongst all the patterns and all the independent variables, they're probably not the issue, all right? So you see the pattern of the consistent components in outcomes and stuff, then you can see what's going on, all right? So another reason for me talking about the victim state, false victims, society rewards the victims, and false victim predators, all right, is right now, I'll just show you this, all right? If you're willing to consider everything going on, and maybe you're observe high up from a cliff sort of thing to see the perspectives of all the data going on and stuff and those sort of things, all right? I usually release this over the weekends and stuff, so I'm doing this recording a few days before, but on the Thursday and Friday 20th and 21st of January, the British government outlined that they're ending the passports and stuff and all mandates and all that coming up. And on the Friday, Netflix dropped 20%, all right? So what I'm seeing is there's a market correction going on relative to the narrative change, and this is relative to the end of the pandemic sort of narrative sort of thing, and it's going to move into a new stage, all right? And my rationale for doing the society rewards a victim sort of thing at the moment is cutting to the chase, all right? There's going to be more data released, and because the narrative has been very narrow and it's been very contorted and controlled, and it's set up a lot of people for failure, all right? And now the more information is going to be released, and like the absolute nature of the truth is so so strong and foundational, all right? The false narrative is just going to buckle, all right? If I show you that other image I've shown many times, a lot of people in the world have trusted certain sources and they've based their decisions on that, all right? And they've got a distorted perception, and so their actions have been based on the falsehood, where a lot of you, if you're around me, you understand how precious and life force efficient truth is, and the outcome you can get for your life, as I showed in that algorithm diagram. No matter what society says, you do your own homework and you find out and you investigate, you get all the data. If people say and make claims, then you get all the information relative to them and stuff, and you go and exhaust them, and you ask the people direct, and if they make claims and stuff with evidential stuff, you get all the data. Say someone creates a product, all right, and then someone else sells it, get the number and the volumes and the amounts to get an idea and stuff, all right, as the birds are right around me, all right. So I'm just offering that because you can get agendas and consistencies of patterns, and it's probably something that's happened many, many times, all right? So people lose their abilities and stuff. So, yeah, the society rewards the victim and stuff. So a lot of people that are operating based on that think that, who unfortunately trust sources and think that they're safe based on that, are going to be set up for a massive failure, all right? And it's actually going to be really, really negative, consequential potentially for the body, all right? And so putting gas or petrol on the fire actually creates like a, you know, devastation of the environment, all right? And what I'm doing with this one is linking it up also with the video I released end of September called The Misconception of Death and Therefore Existence Itself, right? Because why I released that back then is the anticipation there's going to possibly be a lot of death related to what's happened. And one quote, one guy I love, he says, when people have nothing left to lose, they lose it, all right? And so their behavior and all that sort of stuff is going to be really extreme because of what they realize they've done to themselves based on falsehood, all right? And so I'm 45, right? Back in the 90s and stuff, I did recordings with Andrew, and he said that the lawyers were set up, all right? And so it's interesting about society. I find it fascinating, all right? Because, you know, if something's done to people, they think they're going to sue them and stuff like that because there's consequence. And so they're victims, and it's like, I've been wronged and all this sort of shit. So they go into the court system, and then an outcome's in their favor, and that's justice. A pile of money is justice. I find it fascinating that the technology of money is seen as a alleviator of a crime and stuff like that, right? When my actual that whole engagement is actually empowering the court system by the negative emotional outcomes and stuff. So it powers up a false grid, all right? And then the money is cursed, all right? So it's interesting how, say, from the Vatican perspective, a lot of the pedophilia was coming out and stuff after, you know, thousands of years and all brutal sort of shit. And then all of a sudden it's encouraged to go through the courts, all right? And so people get payouts and stuff like that. To me, that's sort of a big apparatus encouraging that, to empower the false grid, to entangle the energy and stuff, all right? To feed that through the world and the region and stuff, right? And the money has a consequence. You know, I'm just getting to the point very quickly, but some of the situations I've been through have been potentially entangling me with those sort of things, all right? And I'll talk about my experiences, and I'll try and get them very quick. And then, because incredible wrongs are being done to me, people play the false victim to get like narcissistic emotional leverage, like acting and stuff. And people are very disarmed to the victim state. So it's actually a expression that people use to gain support and disarm the range of truth, all right? It's actually fascinating when people play the victim. There's true victims out there, absolutely, and I'm not dismissing them. There's a very, very, for me, it's an obvious frequency, subtle it can be perceived as a subtlety, but there's a resonance between false victims and true victims and stuff. And True victims tend to be very transparent, offer all the data so you can perceive, whereas false victims, they'll use their emotional manipulation technology to redirect you away from what you think might be a raw point, but it's actually a vulnerability. They don't want it exposed, all right? And it's because they do a wrong and they're busted and they don't want to be caught, all right? And we all get caught, all right? There's always consequence and stuff, all right? So, yeah, I hope that's a good intro, all right? I hope you see that, because I'll show you the psychic influence sort of diagram now. I've shown this many times, but say someone is targeted, or someone someone has a relationship to you and they're targeted influence, and you're allowing them in your trust and stuff, right? And so they play the victim and you disarm against it, all right? What might be happening is that emotional state is actually exposing them to influence, all right? And the motive is because they're being puppeted to undermine you, all right? And what happens with the victim state is it disarms you to lower your guard, and you give them like a pass through and stuff, and so they might have an influence and it gets into you, all right? So what I'm talking about here is the psychic defense aspect of interacting with people that are true victims, but also false victims, right? Because the key is about you and being spiritually selfish, right? And it's not selfish to master yourself to defend against psychic influence. The majority of the world has no appreciation of this, and in fact it's seen as an outlier, like I said in that first diagram. If I show it now, having perception is seen as an outlier and it's unsupported in our society. So you can be targeted, and if you get strong, then the people around you can get targeted, and if you got missions and stuff, yeah, like some really negative events that occur that you get caught up in and entangled because you think you're doing the right thing based on your algorithm, all right, can put you out of the game and stuff, all right? There can be very negative consequences on your life, all right? And that's where, for me, I've been very transparent in the things I've been through, and you know, I offer the incentive to discern the shit out of me, all right? I could be lying, all right? But based on you know, I take on board the cost of giving false information, you know, in a public sense, going out and doing purposeful lying and stuff and misguiding people. It's like, I would not be able to do this, all right, at all. I would get absolutely smacked because I live in the karmic balance of the consequence of everything I do. And if I say falsehood, it's like, and if I'm guessing and stuff, I just wouldn't say it. It's no point, all right? So that's where it was like in the Amplifying the Echoes of Our Soul's Ancient Truth Part 2, realizing that the vast majority of spiritual people out there got agendas behind the system that is governing the invasion on the surface and stuff, and all the stuff going on now is absolute battle for that, alright? So I encourage you to go and review and watch all the videos I've done and stuff, and that I recommend, and yeah, it's going to be a time where we need to really, really, really raise our bars, alright? Because what you're going to realize is a lot around us are going to realize a lot, and it's going to be quite epic, alright? And so mastering your psychic defense to the emotional displays and potentially manipulations of people in uncertainty, alright, will be an anonymous ally, alright? So this has been going a bit long. I'm just going to stop the recording and get into the stories, alright? Alright, a couple of stories. One's from my ex, from the injury that she sustained. Alright, and one's from someone I had a brief sort of interaction with that is a pretty interesting story. I shared a bit of it in the truth frequency video at the end. I dropped a lot of truths in the end of that. Alright, so if you want to go research that and listen to it, part of it's there. But this is a story of how I came about the understanding of the false victim and even the victim predator, the false victim predator. But overall, the society rewards the victim is a very, very foundational emotional theme that's going on because, as I said, the victim state is a very open state to psychic influence. So that is absolutely encouraged in society because then, it's fascinating what victims, particularly not true victims, because there's absolutely people who have been involved in a lot of distorted stuff, and I have too, right? But I've been very careful about, I know the trap of going into the victim state because it's trying to open you up, right? And then there can be layers that are waiting to clobber you for that. So even though I am actually a massive victim of very, very disgusting shit, alright? That's where I don't go into it and I let go of the 3D stuff and I go beyond it and I trust that Earth has my back and stuff, right? So I'll try and make these stories pretty quick because I don't want this video to be too long, but it's very interesting. I'll give you all the data to scan in. So my ex fell 2nd of May 2008 and I was going to see Tiesto 4th of May 2008 in Sydney, which was awesome. I had a mate coming over and stuff, and we went and saw him, so it was a bittersweet time. Like, it's just before he ended all his trance and stuff, so it was an epic night, but it was like really hectic. And I could do nothing right with my ex and stuff, and long story out of that, right? I left her after 18 months of support, destroyed my life, cost me about 400 grand Aussie. Never gave a shit about me, alright? All she did, what I realized, is she was creating this false narrative about things and never allowing all the data for all the perception to be known. She was creating a setup for me to be removed from her life and creating a false narrative to everyone to redirect what she had done and what she's doing. I've got a bird flying around, it's hanging around. And so yeah, it's if most of us are good people, right? Most of us have moral compasses, do no harm, do unto others as you would like done unto you. Most of us are leaders in doing the right thing, and you know integrity with perceptions, otherwise you get smacked, right? If you give anything misguided away, trust me, you get consequences. That is, unless you're part of the agenda, alright? So you wonder why people do stuff and get away with it. Well, it's a big apparatus, and as I said in the Amplifying the Echoes videos, go look at it, because I've got more to expound on that. I've worked out some pretty cool stuff, right? So yeah, I would return to Adelaide in March 2010. It was 18 months of hell. The fall that she had was, we had an argument, right? And she was pissed off with me. But the thing was, she was very volatile, and she would use me and her brother before I met her and lived with her. She was very abusive to him, right? And volatile. And so when I moved in with her, it flipped to me, and I'd never had really emotional understandings of crazy manipulated people, and I'd never been in a serious relationship or lived anyone. I just thought it was that, and so I just, like, when you come from not much and single parent and stuff, you can be very tolerant. You don't have references of what is right and what isn't right, and you try and do the right thing. And I'm a problem solver, like an IT engineer. I come from sales and stuff, so I know how to sell people, right? And sell solutions and stuff, and offer perspectives based on my authentic truth of wanting the best outcome for win-win situations, alright? So when there isn't win-wins and things don't add up, you can be missing perspectives, and assuming people are right and good, that's a big assumption, alright? The Holcroft Covenant, the video with Michael Caine, there was an awesome quote in that saying, assumption is the mother of all fuck-ups. And in IT, like problem solving, like if you're doing phone support with someone and you don't check that they have got the computer powered on in the wall and stuff, you can be spending half an hour wasting time and making assumptions. So IT problem solving is about no assumptions, alright? And it's a very, very disciplined sort of problem solving regime that you must operate in to get the outcome you want as quick as you can, because people are paying a lot of money. Alright, so the fall happened, I left, and she never gave a shit about me after, alright? So, her fall, alright, it happened in an apartment complex where we're at. So she went out angry one morning. She was always angry, had a temper, volatile, crazy, insecurities, all sorts of stuff, haunted, possessed, all that sort of shit. And so she went out in a risky situation with clothes and that weren't appropriate for the ground and stuff, and slipped and fell and smashed her left knee into 12 bits. It looked like a Mercedes symbol, right? It was a pretty horrible injury, and she couldn't move and stuff. We had to get an ambulance and that, and it was 18 months of recovery, and I stuck by her and stuff. And then once she was okay, she got rid of me and I was destroyed, alright? I was sleeping on the street in Sydney and stuff. So I have slept on a park bench, and I know how shit that situation is. Don't underestimate the power of a sanctuary. That's why I did those sanctuary state and sanctuary space videos early on in the multidimensional method to 3D madness series, so you can anchor yourself no matter what, right? I've had a lot of experience. So I had like 18 months of volatility and undermined me. I got fired from a job and all this sort of stuff, and so I returned to Adelaide, and she was governed by money, greed. So what she did, she sued the building for the fall, as a lot of people do. They do that sort of stuff because they got agendas and stuff. And what she did was never gave a shit about me, but she wanted me to be entangled with that because she felt like she was doing the right thing, getting me like compensated and stuff. But I knew back then, getting entangled with the courts, this was I returned 2010, and in early 2011 I got a call from the lawyers that she was dealing with, wanting me to be involved in that. And so I didn't go there at all. I knew back then getting involved in the courts, that was a trap, right? This is before anyone I knew and stuff like that. And so I feel I could have got money, but there was no way I was going to compromise myself being involved in an extortion thing. And I've had families that have done fake injuries to claim them against assurance to get money and stuff, and they're very greedy. It's the same family that I've talked about, and you know, a lot of people, they operate ends just the means. How they got there, it doesn't matter, because it's about achieving the money and stuff. They don't care who they shit over and walk over, and then they create false narratives and manipulative. So in many respects she was a victim, but she played the false victim because she didn't allow, she justified every behavior because of what happened, and there was no measure of the consequence of the actions. It's narcissistic, pathological sort of stuff. So she justified doing all that because in her mind, alright, because we had an argument, she went out and fought and she blamed me for it. So I was the cause of it, not her emotional mastery and all the other freaking arguments like for a few years before that, and all the consequence she'd had on other people, right? So this is the other thing about false victims and stuff and people with agendas, okay? Like when I deal with someone, I say I deal with 10,000 variables relative to that person. I acquire all the data and stuff to get a very good pattern of the person and stuff. And I'm very tolerant because I don't come from much and stuff. When you come from a position of lack, you're willing to compromise yourself more because you don't have the value instilled in you where most people do, right? And unfortunately, that's been one of my issues during my life, which I've learned now, all right? Value is a prime component in what I do, all right? And I don't charge very much for what I do, all right? So, yeah, what I'm saying about the 10,000 variables, so if I bring up the algorithm image, so everyone I deal with, I basically create a 10,000 variable algorithm of all the variables. They're all in my cellular memory and all that sort of stuff, but I just get their outcome and my Enigma programming that one lady sort of could see that I do. You get a pattern in it. The more variables you include, the more absolute and complete the understanding of an individual is and stuff, right? What a false victim and a false victim predator and stuff, people governed by society rewards the victim sort of thing, is they will create an algorithm that has the outcome that they've been wronged, or it meets their agenda, alright? So they will very conveniently not provide variables for you to discern, right? Because they've got an agenda, okay? And what you will do is, like a lot of people speak in their nose, alright? It's like disarming, you know, subtle things like that. Body language, they won't give you eye contact. They'll never offer anything that empowers the opposition and stuff like that, right? That even allows you to consider that they could be wrong, right? It's a very, very subtle, pathological agenda, okay, to get you to agree and emotionally sympathize with their scenario, right? I'm all about empowering the individual. I give you the wrongs I do and stuff like that. Anyone I operate with, it's like, this is what I did, this is what happened, and I don't get it. You know what I mean? I empower the individual I'm interacting with to find their own understanding. Because, like I said, how am I wrong in this moment, right? Being wrong, okay? It's very empowering potentially because you get a greater understanding of the misconception of variables, so in the future you can perceive better, right? Because the perception thing to me is like the whole infinite potential is like, it's a journey of life to become better, and we can always improve, and we could always be wrong based on how this narrative is with the 3D 5 sense, where nothing is encouraged on the multidimensional level, truly up from a society level. We're sort of fringe operators and stuff, and all the gas or petrol on the fire metaphor I've used with the body sort of stuff is, from my mind, it's the anticipation of a real perception awakening going on to prevent that, alright? Prevent people recognizing that they might be like a Hollow Earth Guardian and they might have been working for Thoth, an aspect of Thoth. Hint, hint, alright? So, yeah, it's, that's the way I operate. And if I do wrong and stuff, I'm not perfect in that. And I'm trying to find my way like you guys, alright? But this is how I operate, and because if I show another algorithm diagram, because what you can start to do is discern people, and the outcome, it's like, let's track back and all the outcomes and stuff. What aren't they including if they've got an agenda based on money and stuff? Because to come about, say, a lot of money and stuff that isn't meant to happen, or all that sort of stuff, or it was something totally unexpected and windfall and things like that. People governed by the money grid, alright? The conquistador sort of stuff kicks in, alright? and I've drawn a peace symbol because there should be a win-win outcome and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, if there's variables that don't add up, I encourage you to go and explore them with people and stuff, and you watch their emotional reaction to you hitting a raw point, right? Evasiveness, doubling down on the lie and deceit and all that sort of stuff, right? Okay. So yeah, I'm not trying to make this too long. So that's a bit of a story about the ex and craziness and stuff, because say after you've disconnected with people and then entangling further, it just perpetrates the dis-ease of it. And yeah, I was on a real tear back then and stuff, and as I've shared in that Truth Frequency video, there's a lot in that I've shared about that era, and I don't want to really go over it again. The second story was very interesting, alright? I'll get into that now. And the Truth Frequency was a very big pivot point for me. May 26, 2012, it was the first time I had on-air experience and stuff, so I didn't really feel like I had much of a chance to talk and explain my perspectives, and I felt like I had a lot to offer back then. So it encouraged me to, after that dip of toe in public waters, I was exploring more options, and my path to Revolution Radio was like the next 6 months or so, but I came across that station. And then I spoke on it because they were very open to offering the public a chance to speak, and I was very grateful and stuff. And I remember the first time I called in, these guys were offering me to freaking have a radio show, and it's like the last thing I ever want to freaking do was have a set time, having to speak for freaking 2 hours potentially. That's like my version of hell, right? That's why I'm a bit random with this and never structured, because the creativity in structure to me is polar opposites and stuff, and so getting these flows, I just wait until my energies are brewed, and say, like I said, with the reality and stuff like that, yeah, it's quite hot and humid and I'm sweaty already, like I'm getting high frequency. So it led me to Revolution Radio, getting the point. And then in early 2013, there was a particular Australian host living in another city about 800 kilometers from me, and I'm always supportive of people and stuff, like starting up and that, and because a lot of the hosts and stuff, they operate in different time zones, it was just an interesting thing of having someone in Australia and stuff. So what happened is, as you do, you make acquaintances with people around the world and stuff, and like I've done for a lot of people. Say if you've listened to the 2 recent release on Infinite Potential Healing Part 4 and 5, where I talk about my healing experiences, I'd already done a lot for a lot of people, so I knew people in problems and stuff like that. I was already a good healer back then, and so this person was in what seemed to be a lot of trouble, and so outside of the radio shows you talk and stuff like that, you find out what's going on and get all the data and stuff, and what's quite like a narrative of their situation was offered, right? And as I said, the victim sort of state, society rewards the victim sort of thing, vulnerable women and stuff like that, I'm all very open to and all that. So just getting data and information, I was sort of seeing if this person had support around them, and they said no. So one day what happened, this was late February, this person's husband bought them a car to give them flexibility and freedom, and it was like, bought your car? It's cool. Right after she got their car, she decided to drive from the city, Melbourne, alright, 800 kilometers plus, over to a situation of a guy she knew that she had issues with in the past, to Adelaide, my city. It's like, alright, things must be really bad if you don't have any support around you, and you drive into a situation that has a potential failure about it because you've got an experience with them. And so yeah, it's just, I took it from the perspective that shit must be really bad, alright? And so, she got over here, we arranged to meet up and just talk and stuff, and I allowed her to talk about her situation. I remember taking her to a beach to walk in light water, because if you walk up to your shins in water, it's very like nourishing for the body and stuff. And even back then my energy field and stuff is very healing and stuff, so I know I cleared a lot. I know people that are run by entities and stuff. Like I said, if you listen to part 4 of Infinite Potential Healing, a girl with a succubus that had come through a Ouija board playing with girlfriends and stuff that did a lot of negative shit, alright? That was 3 years before this, so imagine how much wisdom I had after this. I'd already been starting my healing journey and doing a lot of healing and stuff, and I was in the midst of my bankruptcy, so things were pretty epic for me, but I was also on the really getting things going and stuff, alright? And so there was one day, after that first meeting, it was just like, wow, this person is like really messed up, alright? Energy's bad and stuff, and shit wasn't adding up, alright? Like linguistically and stuff, it was like, didn't add up, alright? So I had some red flags and that. So then there was a second time where they were saying there was issues and they wanted to get out, and I was like, well, I got this really cool waiver for me, we can have a chat and you can come over and stuff. And so I got some warning, because after this first time I dealt with this person, I got warning, and it was like I could meditate and protect my guard and stuff, because I was already doing pretty high level energy work back then. Not that I was aware of it, but I had good instincts of psychic defense and stuff, because I was already doing the chips and all that sort of stuff. So I let her into my house, right? After we walked and cleared and talked, and I met her and stuff, and she actually sat in my mother's chair, alright, where we talked, and helped her out and stuff like that, eased her, and then she left, alright? What happened after that is my mother got incredibly sick from her just sitting in my chair, alright? So a lot wasn't adding up, and it was like, you know, I'd lowered my guard to I was very, very skeptical of giving my house directions. I'm very, very guarding of where I live and stuff, right? I don't allow people into my space at all. And the reason I don't is because I let this person in, alright? Because I did not want them knowing where I lived, alright? If someone's messed up, alright? Particularly this situation, I had a lot of red flags, alright? Because she was saying her husband was the issue and stuff, but then it came a lot clearer that that's not the truth, alright? And so what happened after that is there was one day, probably a few days later or a week later, where this person that she was staying with, she was saying was like doing stuff and trying to get in, like violate her and all this sort of stuff, right? And I've never met this guy and stuff, and perhaps he was and stuff, but you know, if you have to leave a situation, drive 800 k's and go to a situation to someone else that you've had an experience with that wasn't good, that can indicate it's a really fucked up situation. But also it can be a orchestrated setup for failure to get the outcome that someone has an agenda for, alright? And so what happened was some sort of scenario happened which justified her to come to my house, and there was no way I was going to let her into my house for what happened from previously. I'm being very kind. It was like very, very messed up and distorted and totally fucked up my space, alright? And it was like she was puppeted by entities and very haunted and all this sort of shit. All the entities, a bit like that succubus, girl were trying to hack into me and all that. I could feel it. It's like wanting a certain angle, and I was not going to go there at all. You know what I mean? And I'm not that great, alright? But again, putting that stuff out can get leverage, okay? Because the dynamics of situations change. So as I said, the previous meetings, I always had a warning to set myself up. What happened was some emergency scenario justified her coming to my house without any warning, alright? And I was going out to do a support thing for a mate, alright? A mate had been supportive of me, and I was planning that for a long time, because I don't really go see many people back then, let alone now and stuff. And so she rocked up to my house expecting to stay with me and stuff like that, alright? And it was like, no fucking way, alright? Because what I said is like, okay, I gave it the benefit of the doubt, about linguistics. She drove across Australia to get into a bad scenario to justify getting in my life, alright? And I didn't allow it. I knew it was like an agenda, alright? Because if I let her in, it would have destroyed my mother and all this and totally undermined my whole fucking life. And she was definitely puppeted by shit, alright? And so I did not engage with her at all. It was like, it was a violation of my boundaries to come there. Could have been bad, could have been not, but the thing is, alright, if you've got energy to give, you give. I was not in a situation to give at all. My life, I was living on $10 a day sort of thing, walking and all that, trying to survive it. In my big boom and stuff like that with awareness and starting to step up. So the first time I sort of stepped up and stuff, freaking someone left their husband, drove across the country and tried to get into my life. It was just fucking crazy, right? So I'd meet like Andrew and Nikki the next 2 months and stuff. I brought them together, Nikki Bertha 5 the Earth and all that, and I've done all the other stuff since. If I had allowed that and got and so this scenario led me to be only in 2 a.m. in the mornings and stuff, very early in the mornings on Revolution Radio, to avoid this person and stuff. And what happened was in January 2014, Max Steele was on Revolution Radio, and it was like the first time I'd really, apart from sort of the production sort of things that I'd got involved in, I got myself entangled with. And then got the second half of 2010, it's just like totally totally effed over, alright? Disgusting. Repeat the pattern, alright? The callousness towards me in the second half of 2010 was just a joke, alright? So I'd gone away and reset, and I was getting to my writing in late 2014, alright? And Max Steele was on, and I got interested to call in and stuff, and then there were roundtables after him where he continued with the Steve Kelly shows. And I remember, like, it was the first time I called in, and this person called in and was like, I've got the recording and stuff, and it was like, she was talking how dangerous people are, and all that she was saying was insinuating me, what I did to her, right? But what she was doing is she creating all this false narrative about being a false victim of what I did to her. Because if the truth was known what she did, she was very, very exposed and doing something really fucking crazy, trying to influence and destroy me. Okay? And so, yeah, it was really, really fascinating, because obviously Max Steele, and he was a big component. Being in his field triggered me to get into writing and stuff. So for the first 4 months of 2014, I wrote like, I don't know, 300,000 words. I was writing 3 books in parallel and stuff, and living off nothing. And also we'd do massive missions with him. There's a lot that hasn't been said, but we did the Vatican and the Bank of England and other stuff, right? Again, this person would have messed all that up, right? So what I'm sort of offering here is that, yes, perhaps people such as me do wrong to people, alright? But maybe it's a misdirection and redirection from what they do to someone like me as well, alright? And I'm not playing the victim here, I'm just offering it from my perspective. I'll show you the diagram that is the most meaningful here, alright? I know if I played the victim and all the shit I was in, there's a frequency just waiting for that, alright? It's just like, go on Andre, play it. Can't wait, go for it. I never, despite all this, would allow myself to go there because I probably have done it before and it's been very detrimental. And as I showed that other diagram quickly, this is just waiting for it, alright? It's waiting for you to emotionally dip and then come in and hammer you, because it's like all these events in life are just jabs and the smashing is just waiting outside of that. So I know all that strategy instinctively. And so when someone goes into that false victim mode with you, alright, this is me, the contrarian, alright, and I'll show you the contrarian view sort of image. Just show the image that I introduced in healing, Infinite Potential Healing Part 4 and 5, is that, say if you go into the victim mode, you can get inserted with shit and it just massively compromises you, and there's very few people in the world that actually can comprehend this stuff like I do, alright? And I'm not being egotistic, I'm saying it's pretty effortless for me because I realize most people can't, and I assume that people could, alright? So all the shit is just trying to get into your field much more than just these things, alright? So if you want to get some understanding of these, Infinite Potential Healing Part 5, at the end I did a big teaching lesson on the compromises that can go on and stuff, right? But I'll go get that other diagram. This is a contrarian view, alright? I haven't shown this for a while, but right now there's a big contrarian view going on with the narrative and stuff, right? Where there's probably going to be a big drop, a lot of deaths and stuff. And people are being set up for failure and they're like thinking everything will be good, but this is what's going to happen, right? So there's a big trap for humanity being going on, right? But say what I'm saying is, say when people are doing bad and stuff, alright, and compromising you and undermining you and destroying your credibility and all that sort of stuff, to me, that means there's something big coming. And they're just an apparatus of it trying to prevent you doing it, alright? And what I'm saying is your emotional attitude will be the way to get through it, alright? So say if I felt like the victim with a lot of my stuff and I wanted to get entangled with trying to get money or whatever sort of shit, that would be the outcome for me, alright? Smashing. So I knew money is a trap and I was focused on the potential, alright, because of why that shit was happening, why the effort to destroy me was going on, and my past behavior that allowed me to get smashed, to have consequence in my life, alright? So I was mentioning about shows earlier and I forgot to say why. I explored a lot of information in shows and stuff like that, and there was this really cool TV show, like in 2014 I think it came out. So after all this and while I was going through this, it was called Stalker, and it was only out for one season, and it was exploring all the different types of stalking going on and stuff, and there's only so much you can go into, but there was this one particular show, I think it was the 8th episode, and I haven't been able to find it again or see it, but what it was, right, was there was this potential stalking situation going on where this lady was claiming this guy was the perpetrator, when in actual fact it was the lady that was stalking the guy, but the lady was making it look like the guy was a stalker and setting him up for failure, and the concept of the false victim was in there, and I was like, holy shit, alright? I was just like blown away that there can actually be people out there that actually would want to create a scenario to make someone look bad, to redirect from them, let alone actually have a pathological nature of wanting someone to suffer because of what they've done, right? So I've said a lot about me. I've done a lot of good, and I don't understand why the outcome is for me when I do such good for people, alright? And the money system is a really, really fascinating variable, and I'm calling out, I've got a double PhD in greed, alright, and understanding greed, because I taught myself freaking currency trading to understand why my ex did what she did, and why a lot of the people around the world just seem to do shit to people and justify it for a pile of money, alright? That was such a foreign concept to me. It still is, but because I'm not governed by money and I can walk away for stuff, because I know on the other side of that there's the potential and gifts and stuff like that. They may not be right there in front of you if I show you the images that I've shown in Infinite Potential Healing Part 4 and 5. So you can get involved with someone that is in a crisis. They get you entangled with their stuff, and there's an energy cost, alright? So they're in lack, whatever scenario there is, and they come into your scenario, alright? And then you invest a lot of energy into them, and you turn their situation around, and you're left depleted, alright? Because you've switched from being the one on top to the one on bottom, and then they're crushed you, and then they go away, alright? But this is what I'm saying, alright? If you avoid the short-term traps, right, and you consider it an investment and you value your life force and stuff, Earth knows, okay, and trust that the ancestors and the unseen world are totally across everything that's happening, alright, and we are in an invasion on the surface, alright, and it's going to get really raw for a lot of people, because what they assumed about this reality is going to be proven to not be the case. And the real game is probably going to start very soon. So what I'm saying is, if you've done this sort of stuff and you probably suffered, alright, trust Earth knows. She's probably the only one you can trust, alright? And what I'm saying is, like, I know when I do invest in these sort of people and these crises and stuff, while you may not get short-term reality benefits, you might get the gifts on the multi-dimensional level because of you're proving yourself in the rite of passage and stuff. So I strongly recommend going and watching Part 5 particularly, alright? Because I think Earth has a lot of gifts for a lot of people if they prove themselves, and it's your actions that prove it and stuff. So I've been very transparent in suffering a lot for a lot of people and helping people out when they're down and stuff, and but I'm also very, very discerning of false victims and true victims, because I've done the experience, I've been in the field and stuff. And I'll just show you another image, because what a false victim does is actually try and create this little narrative for you to perceive, when all the other variables of what's going on they conveniently overlook, right? So as a lot of things unfold, play what people tell you is true, but also be willing to discern and stuff as well, and find out. Be the etiologist, study the causation, get all the data, all the variables, all the data and information relative to making a good algorithmic choice for yourself, and just see this apparatus and aspect of society, alright? Because my attitude, alright, our society is trying to do this to a lot of people, because there's energy harvest going on to maintain the system and stuff, and all the conflict going on in the world is energy harvest to milk it, to empower the false grid over the reality and stuff, alright? So I may have missed a lot in what I've tried to offer here, but what I'm trying to do is arm your psychic defense, alright? You can take on stuff and you can perceive, you don't have to open up your field to stuff. And there's another image that I want to show. I haven't shown this in a while. But say the top one here, that's a victim that justifies the leverage of getting in your life and jumps on the seesaw and ejects you from your scenario and totally messes you up, alright? So what you have to do is be strong in your emotional conviction about yourself. You're number one, spiritually selfish. You anchor yourself no matter what. So, because people like me, false victims get sent, infiltrators and all that get sent to try and undermine you and your potential, right? And they might jump on your seesaw to try and fling you, alright? But you anchor yourself. What you do is you eject them, right? Because they might turn into a psychopath, try to escalate all the manipulation going on around you, alright? But you don't have to play that game, okay? Just watch the games going on. Like, if you don't allow it, if they escalate stuff and try and undermine you, it can be an indication of manipulation, right? Because people are very, very manipulated people are very masterful on using emotional leverage to get into your reality and undermining you, alright? And it's weaponized, absolutely, alright? Like, if you're thorough and stuff, and you're very closely related to people and stuff, discern it, alright? So, I'm just going to round this out. I've probably forgotten a lot, and I'll if I've forgotten a lot, I'll look to include it. I'm trying not to make it too heavy. I'm just trying to make you, or offer you, a variable that's probably going to be played and escalated quite a bit, and it's going to take a lot of willpower and strength to not think that you're responsible for everyone's emotional state. We are not responsible for anyone else's emotional state. We're only responsible for ourselves, and emotional mastery is an absolute massive part of psychic defense, right? So there's possibly going to be a lot of information that's going to be very unsettling, and what I think in the narrative is going to go on, and this is what I said earlier, and I might include these images at the end, is that the British government in Parliament, Boris Johnson said the end of mandate sort of stuff. On the Friday last week, Netflix dropped 20%, and there's a lot of escalation of conflicts and stuff around the world and stuff. So my attitude is that the system is very deficient in energy, alright? That it's trying to milk it all it can and stuff, and all the uncertainty, and I don't think anything in this reality that we do will actually bring about what we want. You have to think about the multidimensional aspects and stuff, and so there's a lot of people, alright, this is probably what I'm forgetting, is I highly recommend going and watching the series Mr. Robot, and basically what that series is about is unhealed people justify anarchy because they're healing is the most last resort anyone does, alright? So if you watch that show, all the carnage and anarchy created was justification based on trauma that the main character and all the other characters weren't willing to face, right? So what I'm advising you guys to do is, if all this stuff is happening and you're unsure and stuff like that, and you want to do something out of it, choose healing, alright? That's what I've done. And I could be like marketing myself and all that, and you can choose that, and I'm just after frickin' money, alright? Don't do it just with me. But if you use that algorithm that you're feeling like something isn't adding up and you don't feel good about it, if you've got the financial resources, choose to do a healing, alright? Transmute all that bullshit out there that's making you feel that way, and apply it to that, and be a metaphor for what society needs, alright? Because a lot of this going on, you're going to have to step back and disarm and just allow it. It's so vast and so big. It's like a tidal wave, and if you're going upstream, you're going to get hit, It's going to be quite uncomfortable being aware, because even your family can be used against you and stuff, and this whole narrative has divided families and allies and all sorts of shit, alright? But hang in there, alright? Be governed by the truth and authenticity and non-manipulation, because the way I see it is, if I do all these misguided shit, alright, I'm sending a beacon to the universe of give it to me, alright? I'm asking for it, by expressing it. So that's the way manifestation in the universe works. This reality is totally distorted, and I said, like the echoes of our amplify the echoes of our soul's ancient truth videos. Like, it's freaking crazy, alright? And I'm just getting to the bottom of the rot and understanding how rotten, especially the spiritual genre, is. Okay, and yeah, you have to own it. You have to own your power, own your core, as I said in the Sanctuary State and Sanctuary Space videos. And don't give your emotional power away to anyone, no matter who it is. Our emotional expression is an aspect of our sovereignty, and we are allowed to express it no matter what we want, or what people around us try and contort us to accommodate relative to them. There's no unity, disunity, emotional sympathy sort of thing, alright? Trust me, an aspect of this psycho-defense is mastery and not being affected by it. Appreciate it all. Like I've used the clip of Ram Dass, the horrible beauty of the universe, alright? And I might put that clip in this one at the end. But step away from it. Choose your own path and find your own algorithm and pathway through it. So I just want to say this as well. This is a bit of a thing that's gone on, like, since I've done the Echoes shows the past couple of Fridays, and my ally Captain Marvel got a massive activation a few weeks ago, and took a while to integrate, and then she did some massive freaking work last Friday and blasted the shit. She went Kali mode and blasted the shit out of a lot of the negative stuff out there, alright? And so I was being hit quite a bit, and she's an ally to me and I'm an ally to her, so I'm grateful for her and what she did. It'll never be known because it's such a high level, and busting up all the negative in the grid, she took care of a lot. So we're seeing a narrative change and stuff as we speak, and there's a lot of opportunity for truth to come out, alright? So I thank you, my dear, and I thank you for being an ally. And if you're here and you've made it to this and you've made it through a lot of my stuff, I thank you as well. I hope you gained a lot from it. I hope you subtly see the difference of the victim state, false victim like predators that use it as a tool and manipulate, and go freaking discern the shit out of them, alright? So until next time, guys, lots of love. Andre out. Hang in there.
Well, you seem to be, if one carries your position to its logical extreme, it means being willing to look at the grossest, most hellish misery on the planet.
All of it.
And embrace it.
All of it. All of it. You look just directly at, you learn how to keep your heart open in hell. Mm-hmm. You see the horrible beauty of the universe. I remember once I was teaching down at Big Sur at Esalen, and they gave me a house to house sit, and it came with a cat, and the cat and I became buddies, and every day the cat would come in when I was meditating in the morning and bring in its morning breakfast, which was a lizard or something, which was usually still alive, and it would sit down between my legs to eat, to be with me. And I would be sitting there being with God, and I'd hear squeak, squeak, crunch, crunch, and I didn't know who to hate. I mean, I loved the cat, but suddenly the cat was a killer. And I loved the lizard because I identified with the, and I went through all the changes, and then I saw it is the phenomena of nature. You've got to be able to look at it all and say, yes, I acknowledge it, without being so busy reacting to it that you don't, because you don't even understand why it is that way. I mean, my ability to see around the edge of the, as Rilke said, the billboard at the edge of town, being able to see just around the edge of the veil, and I can just see a teeny little bit, just like we all can, leads me to understand the game is much farther out than I thought it was. That suffering has, I mean, I can understand the term suffering is grace. I can't live it. I can live it at moments with little sufferings. But I can understand that there is a beautiful unfolding of awareness through suffering. That's what my work with the dying is about. Yeah.
Do not be afraid, little friend. I do not wish to harm him, only to play.
He thinks you are as others and would have him for your supper.
I could never do that. What is keeping his hand in the jar?
Let us see.
If it is so easy, then what was it that held him?
Put your hand in the jar. Remove it. This time, take out the fruit.
I cannot do it, Master.
How then can you remove it?
By dropping the fruit. That is a very foolish monkey. The gardens are filled with fruit, yet he chose to hold on to the one in the jar.
I am pleased you are wiser than the monkey.
I am much wiser, Master.
I would hope you'd remain so, and will know when to let go of those things which do not serve you, but force you to serve them.
John Lilly once put it this way: there are no limits at all to the human mind whatsoever, except those we impose on ourselves because of our beliefs. And those limits are also beliefs to be transcended. And that's a view that suggests that the possibilities of human transformation are virtually infinite. And we have no way of knowing the outer horizon of what it means to be human.
And really, to understand all this, everything, you have to go very, very deep into a study of history, consciousness, neurophysiology, everything. You have to be the supreme eclectic type of leaning, and you really have to be wanting to know who you are and what everything's about.
And the thing that you'll find when you go to sacred sites, if you're very humble about it, is that you are on a personal journey, and the sacred site will respond to you in a way that is appropriate only to you. The information is always what you are searching for. And it's the intent you give that energy that defines whether it is used for right action or not. And it is inside these sacred spaces that you will be reminded that you are a god, that you are a bright star.
So what you're trying to do is move through the course without ricocheting off walls or creating karma. You're trying to slide through things smoothly. How do you do that? It's called flowing. There's a technique that you can do that will allow you to touch some part of your inner being that has more knowledge than your conscious state does.